Batman Arkham Knight is one of the best superhero games of all time. Even in the franchise, even in the series of Arkham games, I believe it is number one. But what does Batman Arkham Knight 10 years later have to give us? In my opinion, Batman Arkham Knight is one of the superhero games where you just have to learn from. You cannot just walk over Batman Arkham Knight or even Batman Arkham City, but this is more about Batman Arkham Knight. Those two are tied for number one. I don't even know which one is number one in my opinion. But if I have to say which one is my favorite though, it's Arkham Knight. Arkham Knight has a compelling story, great characters, character development, great side missions. I love the side missions. I really do. I love the side missions. I love the episodes of Arkham. I love the stealth missions. I love how much combat has evolved in this game. Like, the combat is so evolved. It's amazing. I love how the graphics in 2015, yes, this game was made in 2015, looks like the graphics in 2025. You can look it up. The games that they're coming out with now, Batman Arkham Knight looks way better. This game is so ahead of its time that it's utterly ridiculous on how they did the game. They outdone themselves with this game. I believe this game, when it came out, was game of the fucking year. There's no competition. This is my favorite game of all time. And today I'll be talking about Batman Arkham Knight on exactly why it's so great. Even though I just named a bunch of reasons why it's great, I just need to actually go into depth. First, we're actually going to talk about the living legend himself. Batman. Bruce Wayne, aka Batman. The Dark Knight. The man. The myth. The legend. The only protector. The Dark Crusader. I love Batman. I love him on comics. I love him on TV shows. I love him in movies. I love him on paper. I love him in Batman Arkham Knight. He is my most favorite hero of all time. And the thing is, he delivered so well in this last game he was truly in. And yes, I know he was in Suicide Squad, this new Batman Arkham Shadows game or whatever. And I know he was in Suicide Squad. And I know he was kind of in Gotham Knights. I know this, but he really wasn't in there the way how he should have been. Yes, he was a bad guy in Suicide Squad. Did he do a good job? Yes. They killed him off. That really messed me up. Because they did him a disservice. They really did. It was actually the most disrespectful way to take out one of the best gaming heroes of all time. Shoot. In the next 30 years, people are not even going to be talking about Batman Arkham Knight. That's the sad thing. But I'm not going to forget this is my favorite game of all time, right next to Red Dead Redemption 2. And there's a few more. But let's stay on subject here. Batman in this game had the best development and the best understanding. And he had the biggest... I think this is the game where he had the second biggest struggle. The biggest struggle he had was definitely in Arkham City, in my opinion. What I mean is, within himself. Because the thing is, he had the Joker in him. And the Joker was trying to influence him to not be him. As in, like, kill people, do real harm, let him take control. And then he has the Arkham Knight countering every move he made. That will mess with you as a character. Batman is the guy who counters characters, not the one to be countered. And the fact that we actually get a character that counters Batman was actually truly interesting. And that's the Arkham Knight. Now, I might actually make a whole character analysis on the Arkham Knight because I believe he is actually the best character in there, right beside Batman himself. Like, they are tied. The thing is, they just didn't do a good job on the Arkham Knight's fight because I was expecting more. Respectfully, I really was. It was good, but disappointing. They turned it into a stealth mission. I felt like they actually should have threw hands. Like, there should have been, stealth, throwing hands, in, a real conclusion. Like, you know what I mean? They did have the conclusion, and that was all the way at the end of the game where he was saved. Shoot, I will say that. But Batman is not meant to be countered. Jason Todd is the natural counter to Batman sometimes. Like, That's because he actually worked with him. It only makes sense to a point. Like, oh yeah, I know what he's going to do. I know he picks up frequencies. I know he hides in the vents. I know he swings from pillar to pillar. I know all his movements, blah, blah, blah. I know how to beat him. Batman really had the toughest. I think Batman definitely had the toughest challenge in this game. Then honestly, I think the second toughest challenge was actually Arkham Origins. So in villain wise, as in like the villains that were actually close to fucking him up, I'm gonna give it to Arkham Knight. Then I'm gonna give it to Arkham Origins. Then I'll give it to Arkham City. Then Arkham Asylum. Arkham Asylum is pretty slept on because it's really good, but it's so closed. It's kind of like it's definitely not the worst, and it's not bad. But remember, this is like the early stages of Batman Arkham Batman. So it's kind of like, not too early, but early. Because if you put it in a linear format, right? Batman Origins is first. Yeah, Batman Origins is first, then Batman Arkham Asylum, then Batman Arkham City, then Batman Arkham Knight, then Gotham Knights, then Suicide Squad, then I believe, my bad, there's this new Batman Shadows game. Don't know, you still play as Batman, so let's just put that right there, right next to Batman Arkham Knight. But yeah, that's in a timeline sense. But as in like, back to what I was saying though, villain-wise though, Batman Arkham Knight had the toughest for Batman. As for the player though, the toughest villains to beat was probably Batman Arkham City. I'll admit, Batman Arkham City had the toughest villains to beat. Respectfully, they did. Batman Arkham Knight had the most. I think they had the best planned out fights though, as in like, oh, this fight is not going to be an average run hands. You actually have to do stuff to this person. Like, isn't that like that with other superhero games? Believe it or not, yes and no. Yes and no. That's kind of what I liked about Arkham Knight, because there was so much to do. I loved everything. And the villains they just stood out to me. All the villains stood out. The Riddler, Two-Face, Penguin, Arkham Knight. I love Scarecrow in this game. Top tier villain. The big bad in the game was so perfect. Arkham Knight and Scarecrow were the big bads of the game. They were kind of tied in my opinion, but clearly it's more of Scarecrow because he's the one who actually did the threat with the fear toxin, and he scared away most of the city. Nah, bro, that was cold. Bro. They did Scarecrow amazing. Bro, all the games, you always, and that's never going to deny. The big bad was always Joker. Why not shifting perspective to somebody else who wasn't really looked at as like, as a crazy big bad, and transform him into the next him. You know what I mean? Like, bro, Scarecrow was built different in this game, and you can't tell me nothing different. You can't. Now, don't get me wrong. He's not a fighter, but he will manipulate the hell out of you, though. That's what made him great. See, it's kind of like fucking with Joker, but it has something different. Instead of, what do you call it, laugh toxin or whatever, you got fear toxin. That shit, I'm sorry, laugh toxin or, haha gas or whatever. You got fear toxin, and you got a real, like, threat. Like, Joker in Arkham City or Arkham Asylum was big threats. Actually, in Origins, he was a big threat, too. The way how Origins ended was cool. I admit. But I gotta tell you, though, Batman Arkham Knight villains just built different, in my opinion. They're just built different for Batman. Keyword is for Batman. Now, for the player, Arkham Knight is kind of like a reigning second. I think the best boss fights was definitely in Arkham City. Then you got like 2 to 3 good boss fights in Arkham Origins. Number 1 is definitely the Deathstroke fight. Nobody can take that away from the Deathstroke, like Arkham Origins. Like, that is probably one of the top 5 best, believe it or not, Batman Arkham fights of all time. Top 5. Deadass, top 5. No doubt in my mind. With Bane, too. Bane was a good Arkham fight, too. But Arkham Knight, way different. I enjoyed the scenery the most. That's probably one of the things I don't tell y'all enough of. Arkham Knight just was so damn beautiful to a point. And there were so many places you could go. Like, it wasn't like Arkham City. Arkham City was very closed off, you know? It was a very tight space. But the thing Arkham City did the best at is the switching of characters at free will. See, you didn't just play Batman, you played Catwoman. Cool. And you know what? This made the game a million times better. I respected that. I love that fact. They implemented this in Arkham Knight, but they didn't make it into the free roam wise. They made it in the team up wise, as in like, okay, during this mission you can switch up, or in combat. That is fine. I was fine with that because it's like, this is more like, I see what they were trying to do. And Arkham City did it so perfect that they believe this game, Arkham City, is a 10 out of 10. I believe Arkham Knight is a 10 out of 10 in its own right. Arkham City is a 9 out of 10 in my opinion. I just wanted more in the game. If there was more in Arkham City, I would have put 10 out of 10. Arkham Knight feels what I wanted out of Arkham City as Arkham Knight, as a sequel. And the sequel prevailed as the better game in my opinion. And that's just a bigger, more content. There's only one DLC for Arkham City, and that is Harley's Madness, which is a really good DLC. It's amazing. It's amazing. But with Arkham Knight, though, you get like 8. You get Nightwing, Robin, Batgirl, Harley Quinn, Red Hood. I think that's it. They didn't add Azrael. So that's 5 or 6. That's 6. That's 6 whole separate DLCs, guys. And they're all good. Now, I will tell you this. The longest one is definitely the Batgirl one. Because if you do the Robin, all the other guys' ones, they don't even take an hour. It took about 40 minutes each. But Batgirl, it took me about not gonna lie, about at least an hour and 30 between 2 hours. That's not because I'm trash. There's a lot of stuff in that DLC. And this is before Batgirl turned into Oracle. It tells a story. Oh, and guess what? It's not just DLCs. What I really like about it is... excuse me. What I really like about it is that it's all it all goes with the story. It's not just random. Batman died in 90% of these stories. 90% of the stories, Batman is dead. The only story that Batman is not dead in the DLC is the Batgirl DLC, because remember, Oracle can't walk. Technically, I mean, now she can't. So I just love the fact on we're going back to the past when Joker was alive. And Joker's alive too during that DLC. Play the DLC, you're gonna love it. I'm telling you. I love that no, my bad. You're right. Shit. Remember when I was saying there's 6 DLCs? There's technically there is 8. Because figure about it like this. There is this one called the Most Wanted expansion. This set, I didn't get the Most Wanted expansion until a year later, which was on me. I'm not talking about a year later from now. I'm talking about a year later when the expansion came out. That expansion was so dope. You get Killer Croc, Ra's al Ghul, Mr. Freeze, and Mad Hatter. That's 4 villains right there. And I'm telling you, those guys, they made Batman Arkham Knight entertaining even more. Those DLCs, they dropped a bomb. That shit was amazing, bro. That shit was amazing. Bro, that's bangers on bangers on bangers. Batman Arkham Knight is just perfect, though. I see it as perfect. The combat system is amazing. I feel free. I don't have to lock in on one opponent. You can just keep fighting. The dodge, the counters is beautiful. The versatility of you using all your weapons in a fight. It wasn't even like that in the first Batman game. You can actually use all your weapons in a fight to win. That is just showing you how Batman you can get, bro. Dead ass. You couldn't. Not the way how it is now. I'm dead ass. 10 years later, this game is still impactful on the superhero gaming world. Batman Arkham Knight will never stop to motivate other games. I truly think Batman Arkham Knight has something to do with the Marvel Spider-Man. I'm serious. Because the way how they did that, it's kind of like, yo, you can see it, in my opinion. You can see it. In other Spider-Man games, right? You barely had those types of options. Barely. You can't sit here and tell me this nigga was throwing out tools and stuff, spider things and blah, 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 spider bots. No. That shit had to come from Batman Arkham Knight, bro. That shit had to come from Batman Arkham Knight. And I'm not saying, oh, they took the idea. Well, they were inspired by the idea and they went on it on their own. Don't get me wrong. Marvel Spider-Man feels way different from Batman Arkham Knight. It does. Not too much, but you can tell it's its own game. I mean, it's a Spider-Man game. Of course it's going to feel different, bro. Like, you're swinging through the city. Well, shit, they're kind of doing the same thing on a well. And now this nigga can glide now. But that's besides the point, though. I feel like it's inspiring the games we have now. The new superhero games. And then we're going to get this new Wolverine game. I hope they are truly inspired from Batman Arkham Knight in some sort of way. I'm not saying this man needs to be throwing out gadgets and shit. That's just not the Wolverine way. But I am saying the fighting system, the stealth, Batman. Take it from the Batman Arkham Knight game. I'm telling you, you will not be disappointed. Even the fear takedown system. Love it. Shoot. I love the switching of characters. Love it. Take that stuff and like reform it into your own. Use it. Arkham Knight is a generational superhero game. That's like a generational talent on the NBA. That's why I see Arkham Knight as. And that will close my review. Thank you for hearing me out yap about my favorite game of all time. I really appreciate it. And all my major fans out there, please tell me who is your favorite Arkham Knight character, because believe it or not, shortly after when I post this, I am doing the tier list. And that might be posted tomorrow or today. I don't know. But please like, comment, and subscribe. Reach for the stars and never give up. Bye.